Stop it. So a little bit more blue.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right. Hi, good morning, St. Martin. Good morning once again, and welcome to the Breakfast Lounge. Yeah, that's the time of the morning, of course, when we sit down and we can chit chat with our guests here. So, for the next hour, but my guest this morning will be kind of short, not short, long enough to give us all the information and answer basically all the questions we have for them this morning. Now, oh boy, where am I? Oh, I'm on the wrong page right now. Lady Grace, you ready? Lady Grace, you ready? How you so? Everything seems to be just catching up on me this morning. Oh boy. Okay. Here you are. Here we are. There you go. All right. Sorry about that, radio listeners, and I apologize to my guests also. Now, yesterday was the official start of the race to January 11, 2024. That's the parliamentary elections. The first party to present a list of 10 candidates was PFP Party, the Party for Progress. They also obtained 2 seats in Parliament, represented by their leader, MP Melissa Gumbs, who's joining me here this morning, along with MP Raeyhon Peterson. They got a total of over 1,407 votes in their first run back in 2020, and that earned them 2 seats, proudly representing the not just the party, but the people of St. Martin. Let me say hi, good morning, and welcome to both MPs here this morning, MP Melissa Gumbs and also to MP Raeyhon Peterson. Good morning.
Good morning, Grace.
Morning, Grace. Thanks for having us.
Quite a run it was yesterday, of course, all decked in black and gold yesterday.
Yes. Yeah, it was for me invigorating moment. You know, we had our little drum band walking with us, bringing us in, our candidate, Luciano Nichols. I don't even know what that drum is called. So I'll just say also on a drum.
Right.
So yeah, it was really great. The energy from our parents, our families, friends, and supporters who came out. And of course, the messages coming in from those who were not able to be here and attend, but definitely an invigorating experience.
You got 10 candidates on your list.
Yeah.
Now, yesterday, after you presented your list, you mentioned that your initial goal of this election is to have representation in the government. However, one of your mantras for the party is quality over quantity.
Mm-hmm.
How does that play into when you look at it then that larger size parties usually are the ones that end up in the majority of government? How do you look at that?
No, I think look, the size of the list is definitely to continue what we said we were going to focus on in 2019, which was building a political party, a political movement that moved St. Martin forward with a focus on good governance, integrity, and accountability. We live in a system where there is most likely always going to be a coalition. We have not had an outright win since the 90s, I believe, by any party. So I think, you have to leave space for that possibility while maintaining your principles. We could definitely have had a list of 23 candidates, but it would have diluted what we actually want to accomplish with PFP. And I think, we stand on our principles all the time. So you have to be able to hold that one head and focus on building, keeping the movement going instead of just trying to do a quick grab.
You actually, for what I understand, is your candidates go through a screening process.
Yes.
What is that? Why is that so important?
I mean, I think it's important if you look at the history of our political situation since 10.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about the phenomenon of ship jumping, I think that's where it actually stems from. Parties quote unquote aligning with certain individuals within the community wide because certain individuals came from another party or maybe they're a little bit popular.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, if you add somebody to your team, they need to also share your values and your principles and your morals. And that is where I think a lot of parties go, wrong. We, of course, we go through a screening, but it's not an actual screening. It's more of a conversation with our candidate from day one. Who are you? What do you stand for? We want to know about your history, etc. Because we also are not going to compromise the party for any individuals, actions in the past. And that is not to judge anybody, but like we said, we have a vision. And aside from the screening, we also have a lot of candidate training, a lot of prep. guiding our candidates into what is for us, the vision of what is to be, a representative for the people, and that takes time. I can tell you that our campaign team has been working with us since last year, actually since 2021,
Wow.
and you have to put in that time to actually create set quality that you want over quantity.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's kind of unpopular, but we like it.
Yeah, I like it because I think it also helps to build that cohesion within the team, because it is actually a team. I'm pretty sure that there were parties up to yesterday filling out voter eligibility forms and declarations for candidates that maybe decided, or they asked that morning, hey, you want to be on a list, and then they have to scramble to get the documentation done. We set a goal. Our list was locked off more than 2 months ago, and so our candidates have had that time to prepare, to practice, to go to the workshops, to learn about this job that you're auditioning for with the people of St. Martin.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's basically somewhat of a rule book that you have.
Yeah.
You present to them.
Yeah.
You've added some new candidates, and you have some candidates that actually still are with the party.
Yes.
So how many new candidates are actually now with the party?
Five
Wow.
new. Yeah.
Five in
So
total.
we had to replace 3. We had 2 members that decided not to run for personal reasons, and then we removed the member last year. MP Weaver joined, so she's new to the party, but not to politics. And then we had David Solomon, Nellie Blaze, Rosalina Martina, sorry?
And Mr.
Yeah.
Marlon Hodge.
And Mr.
Right.
Marlon Hodge that joined the party. So you have 5 returning and 5 new candidates to make it a nice 10.
So you present the list, and then the real campaigning actually begins.
Mhm.
Because a lot of parties were already campaigning out
Yeah.
there. You set a trend though in the first run back in 2020, where you did it totally differently. There was no soapbox shouting or
Yeah.
anything like that. Why was that so important for you to have more of a personal contact with voters than going out there on a stage and making all the noise like the other parties do?
Because I think at some
Sorry, I have
point,
to refer to it as no.
no problem at all. I think because at some point in time, the carnival does have to stop. Because right now, don't stop the carnival, and
Right.
right now I think politics it remains sort of a bit of a bacchanal, but people are not informed as a result of that. So to actually have conversations with people in the communities, we had very touching exchanges with persons at our town halls in Dutch Quarter, St. Peter's, Hope Estate, wherever district, Simpson Bay especially, whatever district we went to last time, you got that one-on-one, 8-on-1, you had
Right.
access to everybody. Everyone was on the same level, because at the end of the day, we're representing you. We're not going to put ourselves on a pedestal, and a stage is in essence a pedestal.
Correct.
So being able to descend then into crowds or whoever was gathered. At one point, we had persons show up for a town hall, and we had like a circular setup of chairs, and they were like, "What in the kumbaya circle is this?" But we passed the mic around, and not that we were all in a row and it was like a firing squad. Candidates sat scattered, to be able to have those personal conversations with people and
Right.
figure out, what is actually on their minds.
Right. Every party presents a manifesto.
Mhm.
All right. But how much of the manifesto actually? Sometimes I wonder if I could ask one candidate on the party what is in that manifesto,
Yeah.
because you can't you put it out there, but are people really interested in what is in a manifesto? Have you done any research on that?
No, well,
Well, no, it's not really, a manifesto is kind of like a necessity. You need to be able to share your
It's the
vision.
Bible. It's
Yeah.
basically the Bible.
Yeah. You need to be able to share what your vision is, your actual vision from your party for the island of St. Martin. And of course, we have a lot of parties that, pay somebody to make a manifesto. We have manifestos that go above 100 pages. We wrote it ourselves. Every candidate has had, their added value. And we need to be able to share with people of St. Martin what we want to do. But it also needs to come from us. So, I kind of understand the sentiment of why would I read a long document. But if you're really interested in what's going on with the country, the future of this country, then I would encourage everybody to just read it. And not only that, like I always say, laws are also public. And if you have a chance, read the Constitution, read the Charter, read the Civil Code, because all of these laws pertain to us and they're all public information.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
and
Okay.
to make it simpler as well, because you have to. One thing we're big on is education, and you can't be big on education without also understanding that everybody consumes information in a way that suits them. There will be a series of videos, short videos, explaining from the candidates themselves certain bits of the manifesto, so that people can get a more holistic overview of what is in it. So if you don't want to read
How many pages?
20 pages, a little longer this
20,
time, 20
okay.
pages. If you want to read 20 pages, there will be videos that I believe the first one drops today, that will be coming out every other day, so that it can circulate and you can actually learn about each section of the manifesto from the candidates themselves.
Let me throw this at you, and anybody who wants it, both of you can either
Rock, paper,
answer. I'm going to give you all, a moment to answer to this question. You've been following the Dutch elections, haven't you?
Yes.
Okay, now with the Dutch election now looking to have PVV leader Geert Wilders possibly at the helm of government, what is your opinion on that, and how do you think that translates to St. Martin, seeing that he's not the typical politician that we've been accustomed to?
Yeah. First of all, we saw the elections, and I would say that I was surprised, but then I would be lying. I think that the trend has been for these far right parties the world over, whether it's Europe, the US, or so. Even in South America, you see the rise of this far right kind of nationalism, return to the good old days kind of mentality. But I think that is a fear reaction. It's something done in
Mhm.
fear. One of my former colleagues from when I lived in the Netherlands said to me when we were talking about it this morning, she said, a knee-jerk reaction to economic recession or quick change, rapid change is always to go to what feels familiar.
Mhm.
And I think it does bear some implications for St. Martin. It's something that I think we need to monitor closely
Very
to
much.
see how it develops. It might take them forever and a day to form a government, longer than it took last time, because of course other parties, I'm not sure how willing they are to form a government with PVV. But yeah, it's something that has our attention. And actually, we were literally talking this morning
Mhm.
before I came here. I said, we should have a powwow to kind of discuss how this could impact things in the future.
Democracy and St.
Yeah.
Martin. What about you, MP Peterson?
No, I definitely share the same sentiment as MP Gumbs. So I believe that we in St. Martin, when it comes to kingdom relations, when it comes to IPCO, certain parties have a specific stance. Everybody knows that PFP is not against the Dutch, but we're not even pro the Dutch. We're pro St. Martin, but we don't shy away from having the conversations with the kingdom, regarding the issues that concern St. Martin as well. Because when you look at the charter, certain things that concern St. Martin have to be regulated by the Dutch kingdom. That being said, if you have an attitude that is always there to fight, 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 and not actually there to communicate and to work out solutions for the people from both sides of the ocean, then you're going to create an aura, an environment where somebody like Mr. Wilders might thrive. And that is something to look after, because if St. Martin gets into his, let's say, his review,
Right.
we don't know what will happen, because by the end of the day we do have our buitenlandse betrekkingen, that concerns St. Martin, and the Dutch kingdom is going to have to have a say in it when it
Yeah.
comes to
Yeah.
our army,
Right.
when it comes to treaties, when it comes to a lot of these things. So yeah, it's something to look at. But like Linda said, we need to have a plan at St. Martin as well. Worst case scenario.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's been very critical about the allochtonen in Holland.
Yes.
And,
The islands,
Yeah.
the islands, and everybody like
Yeah.
that. So he should really pay keen attention
But
to that.
I also want to, just before we move on, Grace, I just want to
Sure.
touch a bit on what enables a party like that to get such a win is voter apathy. The frustration of I'm tired of voting, I don't see a difference. You're going to see, I think, in the next 2 days, analysis and political analysis from the Netherlands and elsewhere that basically says that I believe a large percentage of the voting population stayed home, decided not to come out, decided not to vote, anti-VVD sentiment. All of these things play a role in what happens. As a party in Parliament, we have spoken often about monitoring not just the Netherlands, but geopolitical realities as a whole. Like I said, you have in South America, you had then Bolsonaro, who was very pro-Trump, very in that vein, and that's what you're seeing. So I always tell people, just read about it, just try to think about it, and it's very interesting when you look at how all these things
Mhm.
work together. And we'll just see. I think, I mean, I don't know, I'm not willing to bet money, but maybe in another 2 years the Netherlands will be going back to the polls.
Right. You've been out in the field, of course, like while during your campaign, while you're campaigning. You spoke about voters' apathy. You sense that also here in
Yes,
St.
of
Martin,
Definitely,
course.
very much.
definitely.
That's why I think we've closed off every interview urging people to go vote.
Mhm.
It would be, I would love that your vote lands on PFP, on any one of the 10 candidates, but at the end of the day, go out and vote. It is your democratic right. It is your, and if people are frustrated to the point where they say, I don't get involved in politics, but politics don't get involved with you.
Right.
That's the reality. Every day of your
Eventually.
life, politics gets involved with you. So you
Right.
should take an interest in it, and you should go out and vote.
Yeah, the usual you hear, and I've heard some people say, "Oh, I want $1,000 for my vote,"
Yeah.
and that's going to be another reason why you got to be very careful. And the voters, not just you as a leader of a party or a member of a political party, that people to try to convince people that do not sell your vote.
Yeah.
Grace, that's the point. Well, what you said, you just hit the nail on the head, because I think that's also part of the reason why we're here. I don't think people who sell their votes, who have that mentality, understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
Every 4 years, as a civilian, as a citizen of St. Martin, you get one chance. You get one chance to have your say. That is a constitutional right. If you sell your vote, let's say for $1,000, maybe even for $10,000,
Mhm.
that's fine. But then guess what? If that politician gives you that $10,000, what's going to happen the next 4 years? What happens when you actually have an issue? What happens when something is happening in St. Martin and you want to sound the alarm? You want your representative to come and represent you. You know what that person is going to tell you when you approach them after, let's say, a year or two? Well, I already paid you, so I don't owe you anything. And then guess what? Your representative goes out the window. Your representation goes out
Yeah.
the window, and they don't have to care. And we see that when it comes to our government, the individualistic behavior. It comes from the fact that they do not have that link with the persons that voted for them,
Mhm.
because they already paid them off.
Correct.
And it's a paradox that we have been experiencing in St. Martin for so long. Hence why MP Gumbs and I, we fought to take down that curtain, because we all know how it goes.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Yeah.
And the only way that you'll actually see that your message actually gets across or actually has impact is on the day when they get to
Yes.
the voting booths.
Yes, of
Definitely.
course.
When they cast
Of
that
course.
ballot,
Yeah.
it will resonate.
Yes.
See that that it really resonates, and you hope to see a change.
Yeah.
You hope to see a change. Now, speaking of change, a victory for democracy. And let me, if I had a bell, a horn, or something here, I would toot it and I would blow the horn, I would ring the bell. But a victory for democracy, a victory for PFP, and of course, a victory for the people also. Removal of the curtain at the voting booths, that can be
Yes.
seen as a step over the first hurdle. Now,
Yeah.
the second hurdle are the dummy ballots.
Yeah.
MP Heiliger was my guest here this morning, and she said she wished that you had actually used a barcode on those ballots, because still, that you have that there are people out there who will try to at least try to sneak in or do something to still take a photo or get those
Yeah.
those dummy ballots
Yeah.
in there.
Grace, it was something that was mentioned in the meeting that we had to even discuss this curtain initiative. And thank you for the congrats, because yeah, indeed, as a faction in opposition, to have been the ones to present then this draft legislation, because that's the timeline. Last September, I sent a letter asking that the Prime Minister consider removing the curtain, changing Kies besluit so that it comes down, the election decree. And then, in December, she responded very favorably about it. But of course, we have capacity issues in government. And, as a faction, we were concerned that that would lead to a sort of drag on the implementation of this. So we, it's tough to get a legislative lawyer, because legislation is such a specific thing, as MP Peterson always says, such a technical thing. So we, spoke to a legislative lawyer who was willing to do it for us. We paid to have that draft El Beham made up. That is what was submitted to the Prime Minister with a cover letter saying, hey, we understand that there are capacity issues. However, this draft is something we believe might be able to work. And, if your review after Legal Affairs gets its hands on it, and they say that, yes, this is fine, if that could be what is used then to move forward, then, we're happy to have helped.
Right.
And indeed, the draft itself was good. Legal affairs, it was then sent to the council of advice, and yeah, that the process continued, and then they sent it up to His Excellency. It was signed off and published, and I'm very happy to that for the first time in 13 years, this small step towards electoral reform happened to be brought by the Party for Progress.
And a lot, you want to say something?
Yes,
MP?
I also
Go
wanted to
ahead.
say, because we talk a lot about legislation when it comes to Parliament, MPs legislating, etc. This was an LB hum, and an LB hum is not the prerogative of the MPs. It is actually an executive decision, so it needs to come from the Council of Ministers. But like MP Gumbs said, after numerous attempts of getting the Prime Minister of explaining what was the issue, what we wanted, and knowing from ourselves that it would be a small change, after numerous letters, we decided, let's help the government. Even if we're in opposition, the PFP decided let's help, because the government also comes to us and with the answers that they lack capacity.
Yeah.
So to that extent, we drafted the LB hum, but just a disclaimer, LB hum does not come from Parliament. But in this case, that's why we also have to congratulate the Prime Minister for taking what PFP took to her and basically agreeing that it was a good idea and pushing it forward, because like I said, LB hum comes not only from the Prime Minister but from the Council of Ministers, and I'm sure that she had
probably some lobbying to do
within that special Council of Ministers that we have, and I'm glad that she got through, because this is a victory for the people. That's all I wanted to add to it.
And with regards to the barcoded ballots, I think from an expense, this is a budget neutral change. You take it down, it's done. Barcoded ballots, electronic voting, all of these were mentioned by the previous head of the voting bureau as options for electoral reform, and the curtain as well was mentioned.
Good options.
Yes, and good options. But I think definitely a cost analysis needs to be done to see how adding that, if adding that specific bit to the ballots, what's that going to impact the budget with?
Right. Had the Prime Minister just been the advocate here, had she not approved this LB hum to remove the curtain, would have somewhat cast a negative light on her also, because when you speak of transparency, this already and integrity, of course, this already is an indication when you constantly hear about it that this is proof enough to say, hey, I can be transparent and I can prove that there is integrity in government.
Yes,
definitely,
most definitely. Yeah, I agree.
So let's talk about wrongs and doing and wronging the rights and righting the wrongs. Now, what according to you, PFP party, were some of the things that this government failed at during this governing term? We have enough time. Okay.
No, we don't.
I know, but okay. Okay, because we hear the rhetoric often that it's the pandemic and COVID, which is totally true. But however, how would you address that point? Because we're constantly hearing from the party leader of the Prime Minister, yes, we got the country out of pandemic and everything, but which in my opinion every other country in the world had to also do.
Yeah.
But we keep hearing that all the time. However, what would you address? How would you address that point?
I would say, are we out of the pandemic? Because that's the economic reality is, I don't think that people feel that. I don't think that that persons feel this. Well, we've come out of it. Maybe limping out of it, not unscathed at all. And I'm not sure that enough has been done to make sure that we came out as well as we could have.
Maybe for themselves personally, but not for the people.
I don't think for the people. From what, the feedback you get on the street, that voter apathy we talked about earlier,
it's rising.
all of that is increasing because people still feel pretty stuck as they were in 2020, as they were, to be honest with you, post-Irma. Because it's essentially been the same government, maybe a little brief stint, 2018 to 2019 of a different cabinet, but the players have kind of shifted, but not so much that it's a wildly different cast, So I think that's the limits that people are hitting right now. There were a lot of communication mishaps during the pandemic, things that I would have done differently. We, for one, immediately start discussing with the unions, because anyone could have known, if you have ever been or seen then how things have gone, that you would have had to talk to the unions about cuts. Austerity is always something that follows a crisis, but it's something that we never really did after a crisis. And that's for example, the cutting of our salaries. That's something that we expected. I come from private sector, so for me, I was
Right.
like, well, it's about to be, it's about to hit the fan. So I think that cutting our salaries as a show of solidarity for the private sector, for the public, was a good step. But I think maybe I underestimated the I don't know the bravado, the ego. I don't know what word I'm trying to find, but of my colleagues, because yeah,
Lack of
post
empathy,
Hurricane
I call it.
Irma,
Lack of
nobody
empathy.
cut their salary, and that was a crisis that we had to also claw our way out of. And I think that's what I kind of hope that persons start to realize, that until you stop focusing on the I of politics, it's really the we that you have to think about, and I'm certain that people in partnership is going to be in persons' mouths a lot, but we are the ones that push that first. That idea of you cannot govern your people if you're not willing to put yourself in their shoes and understand what they're going through on a daily basis.
Right.
When I go to the supermarket, I am shocked at the price. So my first thought, of course, in 2020 was, what is the average Simatna going to react when they get to the cash register with their bread and stuff, that they got to put back a cereal or put back a milk or whatever, like
I
that.
found myself that I had to put back things.
Yes,
I would
you
like,
have
okay,
to think
I
like that.
I tell, but they swipe something. I mean, no, take that out. I don't
I
want that.
put bad things out of principle.
Yeah. So and it's funny. Then you have the reaction of I heard yesterday, a former politician is saying that we're a group of spoiled middle class kids, and I said I don't actually agree with that assessment. Number one, your middle class has been shrinking since 2020, and number two, I don't think that is the outlook we take at all. As the party that has preached for some financial conservative behavior and for cutting our salaries and for
stopping per Latino,
Latino,
money.
for regulating tendering, for managing money better, for actual tax reform, those are the things that we talk about. I'm not sure what that person listens to on a regular basis, but it's obviously not Lady Grace and Breakfast Lounge.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned Parlatino, but I'll get back to that in a minute. MP Raeyhon Peterson, let me ask you your take on the entire government, especially the Vromi department, because you are very familiar with that. You were very critical during and still is very critical about the Minister of Vromi's handling of execution and managing projects. From the Over the Bank project, the Beacon Hill project, waste management, everything. Yes. Let me hear from you now. How and if you, let's say, for example, you were offered the opportunity to become the next minister of Vromi, how would you tackle this current situation as it is right now?
First, you gotta get him to take it.
Right. Just what if? Let's talk solutions. Let's talk solutions.
That's not hypothetically, right?
Right.
Well, Grace, the first thing I would start to do if I ever became the minister of Vromi is, within my first press release, my first press briefing, I would shout to the people of St. Martin, if any civil servant from the Ministry of Vromi or anybody affiliated to the Ministry of Vromi has ever approached you for any type of financial compensation for any type of work that is coming from Vromi, from the Department of Domain Affairs, from the Department of Inspection, from the Department of Permits, especially. If anybody came to you, besides you having to pay your permit fee, which is 200 guilders, and actually what your building permit costs, if anybody came to you for any type of compensation, whether financially or not, aside from that, please report, and I will have a special email waiting for Vromi. Please report that anonymously to this email. Why? Because that's what needs to happen within Vromi. What they have created now is a culture where the good people of Vromi, and I'm talking about the majority, are being put in a backseat, and the little group that is part of the cronies, as we call them, they are the ones who are running the show. Yeah. And if anybody knows Vromi, if anybody knows how close-knit of a family Vromi was 8 years ago compared to what I see now, then it's a shame. You have to start with all of the departments that have the most interaction with the people. Permits department, how many permits do we have in a backlog? I can tell you more than 150. I know people personally that are waiting more than 2 years for permits. Yeah. But guess what? Within the next 2 months, you're going to see permits coming for very questionable figures within the community, and those permits are going to be passed quickly. Those are the things that need to stop. When it comes to domain affairs, giving off land, the judge came out and said within his 4 years grace, sorry, Minister Bromi, you're not going to be able to give offline anymore because this situation has been messed up so much that now we are reaching a crisis. The notaries now are refusing to work with the Ministry of Bromi when it comes to the issues of long lease.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So the results, what we are seeing after these 4 years, is exactly what it was, and it's exactly what we've been saying. No accountability, no transparency, and most of all, no integrity coming from certain departments within the Ministry of Bromi. And that is not to tackle the people in Bromi. No, like I said, certain individuals, certain politically appointed individuals. And to be short, Grace, if I ever become the Minister of Bromi, it is going to be a halt on all the crap that is going on, and we're going to have to fix it. We're going to have to fix that cracked foundation before we even start on thinking about big projects, etc.
Let's talk about, you mentioned Latino also. Does these trips actually benefit the country? Because for what MP Grisha Highlighter Martin was saying yesterday, you have to be fluent in Spanish when you attend these, because it basically says Latino par speak.
You know, we've had this discussion for 4 years now, and I have also kind of butted heads with one of our counterparts in Aruba about it. Not necessarily butted heads, but I think for Aruba and Curacao, it might bear a little more value.
Correct.
You know, their proximity to South America, the makeup of their population, it works for them. I don't know if it benefits them because they send really large delegations, which I think is also problematic for the counterpart that I spoke to. But for us, I have yet to see it. You know, I think when we had a meeting to discuss our regional relationship development proposal from PFP, so strengthening our ties with the French side, strengthening our ties with Saba and Statia, strengthening ties with St. Kitts, Anguilla, you know, the neighboring islands that are in our immediate area of the Caribbean. You heard MPs say, well, when at Parlatino, I can get model laws that I can then adapt to fit, you know, for St. Martin. And I'm like, okay, I can also get them online. They're on the website for free.
But you actually did that, MP Gumbs. You actually took a document from Parlatino and tried to make a code of conduct for Parliament.
Yeah.
Her being the one that has never been to Parlatino, she said, you know what, let's try to meet them halfway. Let's get one of the documents that, you know, actually regulates how they act when they leave St. Martin. And what happened?
I forgot about it. It has not been passed.
It has been shut down by the same people who go to Parlatino every 2 to 3 months. Grace, it's a waste of money. It's a waste of money, and it's a waste.
I forgot about that.
Time.
Thanks.
It's a waste of money, and it's a waste of time. Like you said, me being one of the few people in Parliament that can actually speak Spanish. From day one, I asked certain MPs before they went to the first Parlatino, what is your goal? What are you going to bring back to the country? Because
how do we benefit from this?
We do not. All of those MPs, and I'm talking 2020, Grace, in 2023, the ending of 2023, not one of those MPs, not one, has brought me said report that they said they would bring to me after one of those Parlatinos. At this point, I am missing at least 57 reports. And not one.
I think in sorry to cut you off, but I think earlier, I'm not sure when, whether it was recent, I think it was recently, there was a period of like 2 weeks where it seemed like we had 4-5 MPs missing because they were traveling to Parlatino.
It's sort of like a mini vacation.
Yeah, maybe they're saving up to put a team to campaign or something.
I don't know.
It's a waste of money. It's a waste of money.
Do they have to give an account of the per diem?
No, they do not. They do not have to give any account. They don't even have to bring a report to Parliament.
They're talking about $400 a day. Right?
I'm talking about the ticket, everything.
First class,
the $30,000 that we pay Parlatino every year.
The membership fee for Parlatino is $30,000 a year.
Wow.
So all of that is just money wasted that I think could be funneled into the people, straight into the people. But you know,
or to legal review, legal help, hiring other jurists and lawyers for Parliament. You know, if you look at Curacao has a battalion of lawyers in their secretariat, and we have our two griffiers who do their best, but it's a lot of work and that goes into the daily operation of Parliament. But that's something that we'll see how the chips fall on January 11th. But definitely, it's not something that we have seen yield much for the country. And I know that persons will scream about, well, what good does IPCO do, etc. And it's always curious to me, because you ask what good does IPCO do, but you always go. I asked what good does Parlatino do, and I have never been to Panama. I've
Okay.
never been to Chile. I've never been to
Right.
Argentina, in these 4 years. So for me, I think you have to, again, principles. If you don't
Mhm.
have any, don't try to throw up a smoke screen
Exactly.
and say that you're bringing things back for the good of the people, and then you're trying to stand on principle on something because it's popular to paint IPCO as useless because it involves the Dutch.
These trips to Panama, Grace, they often welcome also, certain individuals that are affiliated with some MPs. So every time that they go to Panama or whatever, you can see a little group of, certain people, specific people in society that also go away. It's a little get together, it's a little party.
Right.
And we're not for that.
Yeah.
We're way to work.
Yeah.
Okay. So the selection actually goes. How does the selection go?
So thankfully they put it on a rotational basis, which was
Oh.
something that I also supported because
Mhm.
if you're gonna go again, we're not members of the Palatino Committee. We never have been.
How do you become a member?
You
though?
can sign up.
You
No,
just
look,
decide.
Just sign up.
Parliament is a member, but there is of course committees in Palatino,
Correct.
which also leads to a lot of the travel. We had decided from
Day
before,
Mhm.
if we're ever
From the
elected,
jump,
this is not something that we're going to
Right.
participate in. So we've never been members. But of course, when you discuss certain things regarding travel, the budget for travel for Parliament, that happens in a central committee, so everyone can kind of weigh in. And now it's on a rotational basis where they try to keep it to 4 at a time going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Now let's allude to some main topics here, like the economy. How does the PFP plan to improve the livelihood of St. Martin population?
In our manifesto, we talk extensively about tax reform. We talk about the fact that it's been 4 years of hearing that we're getting tax reform, and to date, nothing has been, none of that step has been taken. We speak about that, lowering the profit tax for businesses, finally trying to outline what would constitute a living wage by establishing the poverty line. They had the census results that said that 1 in 4 households live with under 1,650 guilders
We're talking
a
about
month.
44%
Yes,
of the population.
exactly.
Here, right.
But at the same time, I want to remind people that is not the poverty line. That doesn't say, well, what do you need to be able to live here? Is it 3,000 guilders a month net? Is it 4,000? What is it? And that is something that has to be established. And I know that persons like to say, well, you're talking about research again. I'm like, yes, because data matters. No matter what ministers or members of parliament say, you need to find data to be able to say, well, how can we best adjust this, and how can we impact, make a decision that would then lead to a positive impact. And you need that information. I don't know what it takes to live here, and then you also have to tie in the fact of fiscal responsibility. How do people spend? What do they spend on? What is available for them to spend on? Those are things that have to be assessed, and then you can kind of say, well, this should be the wage, because as Raeyhon says a lot, people, you pay minimum wage, but minimum wage is not meant to be it doesn't mean that's what you have to pay
Yeah,
people.
it's a choice.
Yeah.
It's a choice. As a private company to pay somebody minimum wage, that's a choice that you make. The minimum wage is $5. I know some companies that pay somebody $10, somebody $20. It's not like the minimum wage gives you what you earn. It's an incentive to protect you in the case of, but your employer, they're the ones who are supposed to up that. An employer cannot say, "Oh well, the minimum wage is $5, so I'm going to keep it at $5." That is a choice. That is
Right.
a conscious
That's a choice.
Right.
So
And a lot of businesses, a lot of business owners actually stick to that.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And that, I think, is the issue, because if you have to run a business, but to do so you have to slave out people, then maybe you're in the wrong business. Maybe.
Next year, 2024, real quick here. I know you're limited for time today. So next year, 2024, the CBCS will introduce a new currency, namely the Caribbean Guilder. I want to touch on that. It will be replacing the Netherlands Antillean Guilder. Do you believe that dollarization would have been the easiest way to go for St. Martin?
I'm not sure to say the easiest way. I think that de facto
Convenient.
our economy is already dollarized, and that is something, again, that we are actually undertaking some research with, in collaboration with those who know, connections within the U.S. Treasury Department, experience, those who have experience with how it went in the BES, reading how it has impacted, I believe, Panama. So trying to see if that would be the best option. For me, I like I say, we earn in guilders, we spend in dollars. Jump high, jump low, that is what it is. The only bill we pay that I get that is in guilders is GB when I do get a bill.
And tell him.
And yeah, tell him. But in terms of everything else, when you look at rent,
Dollars.
your rent is in dollars. No matter what. So I think that we have to start thinking about how do we shift. From that, I do not believe that this monetary union is serving us very well. I know that the central bank has their position on dollarization. I understand it, but I think this is something that we definitely are formulating now, a formal research-backed position. I can have my thoughts, I can have my opinions, Raeyhon as well, everybody as well, but I prefer to have concrete facts then on how that would look for St. Martin and how it would impact us, whether positively, negatively, because there will be cons with everything.
Right.
So the as you give up control of a thing, there will be potential consequences, but then you need to know those and still
Right.
make a decision that weighs on the positive.
And it's a limited currency because
Yeah.
you can only use it in St. Martin and in Curacao.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, from the airport to GEBE to TELEM, all government-owned companies, they're facing major delays and financial issues affecting basically the labor market, citizens, and the economy. What is your response to that?
Governance issues, and I think governance issues not just because we don't have people that can be on boards that have that experience, but
We
I
keep
think
putting the exact same people on board
that-
because they're politically affiliated.
yeah, that, and also what that does is it makes it that you don't satisfy competencies required in a board, legal, financial, etc. That is a large part of what I think, in my opinion, contributed to the whole incident at GB. You had a board that was filled with primarily economic people, business people. That there was no financial expert, there was no legal expert to look at what was going on. So I think that I believe, from what we were explained, part of the reforms includes improving corporate governance. I know that there is a report that has been provided to government with recommendations, etc. But of course, I'm sure that there's resistance to it because a lot of it is about making these organizations more lean, a bit more focused and a bit more targeted, which may mean instead of a 5-man board, there's a 3-man board.
Yeah.
And that is, perfectly normal in the corporate world.
Right.
But that takes away, a candy that I can give to someone that, Your Grace, thanks for the support. I need eyes and ears in here. Here's this board position.
Yes, that's
Right.
quite literally, Grace. Yesterday, somebody approached me and said, yeah, they met somebody and they were talking, and the person told them, well, I don't want to vote, but if they're gonna make me a board member at this company, then I will
Yeah.
support them. And I told them, well, you're at the wrong address.
Right. Exactly. Right.
But that's reality. That's what's happening.
Yeah. You also propose. I gotta run through my questions real
No
quick
worries,
here,
no worries.
but we'll get back to that next time.
We'll be back.
Yeah, definitely.
sure.
Please do. Now, drafting of the legislation from Dutch to English. How far have we gotten with that? You actually proposed that.
Yeah, so aside from the books that were published some time ago, which was our organic laws officially translated, I think it's a matter of cost, I think,
Yeah.
is what we're being explained. But that's something that I think it has to be done. MP Peterson talks a lot about people being able to just look up the laws, etc. But
understand
those
them.
laws are still very much in Dutch,
Yeah.
and that the majority population is not going to be able to comprehend that. But
Oh,
and not everyone is jumps on DeepL or Google Translate like me.
Okay.
So no, but that's something that it definitely has our attention still. Yeah.
All right. There are no I's in team, and what I've noticed with the PFP party, you move as a team.
Oh, squad deep.
Move as a squad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I refer to them. I refer to the two other candidates that I had here, the vice president,
Yes.
Mr. Cox, of course, who was here, and that it's kind of like assassin type of team, in a good way.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, right. But you see a lot of individual campaigning going
Yes.
on.
Yes.
MP Peterson, maybe you can allude to that.
But
Probably
to the right one.
Yeah.
Well, Grace, that's something that I'm very observant of, and it's kind of shameful, to be honest. I mean, we talk about being a team. We talk about being a
One.
group of representatives. We talk about being one to represent the people. But yesterday for postulation, I saw a dump truck with only the number for one person on it. I saw another truck with a poster but for an individual.
Mhm.
I saw certain car flags that are meant for political parties with certain individuals' numbers on them. So I personally don't understand how egotistical you would have to be, to how self-centered you would have to be part of a team that is going to
Mhm.
represent the country, but being completely unaware that you cannot do it alone.
Yeah.
That you are as strong as the team that's behind you. If you want to be a minister, you're going to have a team behind you in parliament. If you want to have a good minister, you're going to have a good team behind him in parliament as well. So I mean, I completely disagree with it. Like with PFP, we have the same amount of posters. Every individual on our list has the same amount of posters.
Same size.
Every single individual has the same size of posters. Actually, we have more group posters than we do individual posters. So I say, when people like to say we are one, just look at their shirts. Just look at their shirts are the same. Just look at the colors that they have are the same. And you will see that there is definitely a sort of a disconnect between what is to be the team spirit and what is to be certain individuals who have basically been campaigning behind the scenes for the last couple of years and now seem to have a head start on all of the other candidates, and the whole party seems to be pushing towards
Yeah.
them because they might be the biggest vote getters. We do not believe in that. Our number one and our number 10, it's the same priority for us. We're all pushing everybody forward.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can ask anybody any questions about the whole party. And I think that is not the case with the other parties. And I encourage people to Samart to just pay attention.
Yeah.
Pay attention to what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks.
And that's something you would see that leads also to ship jumping.
Yes.
When a candidate goes in as
I am the
individual,
one.
This is who I am, and I got in.
I have the vision. I am the
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Right.
I grew up in this world.
Right.
And one thing that I told everyone who was there at the inception, the birth of PFP, so to speak, is that one thing that I will not tolerate. I'm not trying to. I said, look, the one thing I do get dictatorship on is how we move together and with each other. I said I've seen individualism tear apart a party that's now being brought back from the beyond. I've seen individualism splinter, what was the SPA into two different parts. Like we've seen that. I've been around for that. I've heard the discussions. I've seen the shifts in people. I've been there while the votes are being counted, and everyone's like, "You see, Reggae, 5 more votes and thing. It's chaos." And I'm like, "No, it's not. It's not actually." I celebrated every single vote that came in for every single candidate last time. Ray will tell you I was there. Like, yeah, if I get 100, I'll be happy. If I get 50, I'll be happy. But for me, the party just has to do well. We do not say vote for Melissa, vote for Ray, vote for Marvin, vote for whoever. We say vote for PFP. Yes, of course. I'm happy if you vote for me. I accept that trust that you've placed in me, but that it fell on the party, I'm even happier.
Yeah,
right.
Because a vote for me also means a vote for Melissa.
Yeah.
You're choosing the team. So to that extent, I would say thank you for giving us the trust. But I really do not see that mentality coming from any other party.
Yeah.
I only see it copied until the moments come where you have to actually be out in the public, and then you will see everybody just being individuals for themselves.
And I think people need to be honest with themselves too. You can have a person on a slate, and I've heard it said, well, I don't really I don't really like or agree with XYZ number 4, 5, 6 on the list, but my friend is number 10 and I'm going to cast a vote for them. I said, but the chances of your friends of that vote propelling your friend forward is very slim. And is that friend on a team that is actually going to back them?
Or is that friend going to get silenced?
Or is that friend
if
just
they
there?
have a different opinion?
Is that friend just there to get your vote in for the party, and then it catapults the people that you don't agree with into the position?
All right.
Yeah.
Almost
Yeah.
done. I know you guys got to run out because you have a meeting.
Yeah, we have the acceptance of the
acting governor. Yes,
Right.
Dr. Birdlake. Yes.
That's at 10 o'clock this morning.
Yes.
So you got about 8 minutes
Yeah.
to get there. But before I let you go, what's your message to St. Martin voters?
Vote. Listen, come out to the town halls. Our first one is on Tuesday at the Dutch Quarter Community Center at 7 p.m. We're inviting the community of Dutch Quarter to come out, meet with PFP again, as you did last time. Listen to what our experience has been. We've always been brutally honest. It's uncomfortable sometimes, but we believe in just telling the truth. But most importantly, to go out and vote. Right. You not voting, you staying home. If you need us to come pick you up, my Facebook is open. My Instagram is open. Send a message and we will set it up. I don't care. Like I said, if it lands on the gold standard, if it lands on PFP, we're happy. But as long as you vote and you do your civic duty to the country, I'm happy for that.
All right. MP Peterson?
I would have to agree with MP Gumbs, and of course, I always ended up with the same thing. People, let's educate ourselves. Let's lift the standard, and every time a politician gives you a nice story, do your background check. Fact check it, and make sure that said individual is not trying to take you for a spin. And other than that, I would say the same as MP Gumbs. Come out and vote. Invoke your constitutional and democratic right. It doesn't matter for who it is. You can also vote blank. Just make sure your voice is heard.
The clock is ticking. We were like about 7 weeks till elections, right?
Was it
About
go-
that?
No, he hasn't to a date.
You got it to a date. Tell
Yes,
me.
so right now we're at 49 days.
49
Yeah, that's
days?
40. We're at the 23rd of
Wow.
November. We have 7 days, then 31, that's 38, and then 11 more to go.
So the countdown is on.
Countdown
49
is on.
days.
Yeah, he has it to the day. Every
I'll be
every
It's-
morning, my
I
anxiety.
drink
Yeah,
coffee now
Mel.
since 80
right?
something. It's
Okay.
been rough.
Okay, all right. My guest this morning in the Breakfast Lounge, MP, leader of the PFP party, MP Melissa Gumbs, along with MP Raeyhon Peterson, both of the PFP party, my guest in the Breakfast Lounge this morning. Thank you both so much. I look forward
Thank
to having
you.
you back again.
Thank you, Grace.
Sure.
right.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Hey, keep it locked here, radio listeners. I'm going to a quick break and then I'll be back to wrap it up.